Trails Farm. Today I'm going to be using Ready Hour black bean burger mix to make tacos. I have another video on how to make hamburgers out of it, and today I'm going to show you how I add it to a half a pound to a pound of hamburger in order to stretch my hamburger. I know if you are in the same situation where I am when I'm going to the grocery stores, meat is scarce. I have not seen a whole chicken for months. Hamburger is getting more and more expensive. It used to be chicken legs and hamburger were the cheap meats, but now they are just as expensive as everything else. So anything that you can do to stretch your hamburger will help you get an additional meal out of that pound. So I'm going to be using a half pound of hamburger, and I'm going to be using the Ready Hour black bean burger mix. Now it comes in the great big cans, and it comes in the pouches. If you haven't tried it before, I recommend you getting the pouch first and before you make the investment of the big can. That way you can try it out. They even do have some sampler packages that you can buy that have different meals and things made by the same company. For my purposes, since I'm going to be mixing it, if you don't want to mix it with hamburger, you can use it just straight black bean burger mix. You probably want to use a bigger quantity. And if you go to my black bean burger mix hamburger video, I think I provide a chart, and I'll go look and see if I can find that and repurpose it for this video too. Also on the website at My Patriot Supply, which I'll put a link on, there's a chart how much to use per serving. But for this purpose, I'm going to be using 1 1/3 cup of the mix. Before I add the hamburger, I'm going to just make it so you can see what it looks like without the hamburger mixed in. If you're a vegetarian or you're on a restricted meat diet, this is awesome for multi-purposes, all kinds of casseroles. It does have a bit of a Mexican food flavor to it, the seasons used. So if you're using other seasons, it might disguise some of that, but I use it primarily for hamburgers and taco meat. And I'm using a 3/4 of a cup of water. You want to mix it up good, and then you're going to need to let this stand for about 10 minutes before either using it or adding it to the hamburger. It will thicken up. This measurement, if you were using it for hamburgers, would make about 4 small patties. Really, I think it would make 2 patties is what it would make without mixing it to hamburger. But I'm going to be using it as taco meat, and I'm going to be mixing it with the hamburger. Okay, I'm just going to let that stand for 10 minutes, and when we come back, we'll add the actual hamburger. Okay, it has thickened up. You can see that it's a little stickier than the consistency of hamburger. And if you wanted to use it just like this, you need to add a little bit of butter or oil or some sort of butter or oil to the skillet, because it will stick since it's plant-based. But because I'm mixing it with hamburger, I won't need to add any oil or anything to my skillet. That are curious, to me, when you mix the black bean burger mix, it has an overwhelming smell of fresh tomatoes. And then next I smell like the cumin and the other spices that are in here. But it really does have a tomatoey smell. And I think the very first time I ever used it, I was sort of shocked by that, because I thought it was going to smell more, I don't know, like beans or something, but it did smell like tomatoes. So I'm just using some gloves, and I'm just squishing it together. You want to keep it moving so it doesn't scorch and burn there. Now I'm going to be making my easy peasy taco recipe. I have a video on that too, where I actually incorporate the tomatoes and corn and onions into the meat instead of doing it fresh. I started doing this when my oldest kids were really young. They were picky and they didn't want this and that, and I thought, I'm just going to dump this all in the skillet and put it all in the taco, and then they, sort of ate it because it was all mixed together, and they really weren't going to sit there and pick through it. One thing, they would have gotten in trouble, and who it tasted like tacos, so they didn't complain about it. But there's a separate video on that. There's also a separate video on my own taco seasoning that I make. It's much more economical, and you can control the amount of salt that you put in it, especially if you're on a restricted salt diet. You can add other spices to balance out or to totally replace the salt. I have my burner on about a medium heat. It cooks, the more it's starting to look more like hamburger texture. I'm going to go ahead and add my veggies and stuff like I normally do for my easy peasy tacos. If you are making this just for plain, not doing my recipe, just taco meat, you can go ahead and mix in peppers or onions, whatever you normally mix in with your taco meat. And either you want to use your taco seasoning, your pouch, whatever it is you choose to use. You can see by making the recipe the way I did, you can really stretch your half a pound of hamburger. And I just got a little bit of a salad left I'm going to dump in there. Whenever I cook a meal, I always look in the refrigerator to see what leftovers can be incorporated into it, so you don't waste food. Waste not, want not. So this had a little bit of kale, some spinach in it, some corn, so I'm just mixing it right in there. I'm going to let that cook for about 5-ish minutes, and we'll be back.
And there we have it. It's all finished.
I'm trying to see it without the cheese and the lettuce there. So, easy way to stretch half a pound to a pound of hamburger. You went from feeding probably 2 people with a half a pound of hamburger to feeding 4 to 6 people easy now. It's been Angie from Canterbury Trails Farm with the black bean burger mix from Ready Hour, and I'll put a link to My Patriot Supply so you can know where to pick it up. So I hope this helps you stretch your meat and stretch your dollars. Talk to you later. Bye.